Hello, hello. Well, good evening. Good evening. Come on in the room. We are about to discuss what we ought to do. Folks are going through a lot. We're hurting, and we are going to discuss what we are to do. We are going to discuss what to do next. We are going to discuss what to do next. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. I want to give folks time to log on. Guys, we need an answer. This is a stressful time. I want to give folks time to log on. This is a stressful time, but I'm about to speak into the wind of what's going on. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I don't want to waste another second. Listen, let me say this. Silence ensures that history repeats itself. History repeats itself, especially when you ignore it or don't correct it. Don't let history repeat itself, especially when you have the power to stop the patterns. I never will let racist white people make me forget about the awesome, sweet soul, dope, loving, Christ-spirited, beautiful white folks who are my friends and family. I love y'all. Hear me. Please hear me. From the sincerest part of my heart. Me being pro-Black, never take that to mean that I am anti-white. Nothing can be furthest from the truth. And if anyone knows me, you know me. My people are hurting. God's people are hurting. Your friends, your co-workers, extended family members, they're hurting. Matthew 9:36 says this, when Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion on them. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless. Another couple of words for those is they were confused, they were troubled, they were distressed, they were hurting, they were bewildered and dejected. Like sheep without a shepherd. This kind of peace that my brothers and sisters are seeking can't be done or attained alone. We need your help. And I'm talking to my white brothers and sisters. We need your help. I want to bring you into this with us. Help us do what it takes to get our voices heard. When we as African Americans or Blacks are the only ones talking, they or folks in power, they don't listen. They think, oh, it's just them whining or complaining or nagging or being ungrateful. However, that is not the case. So we need your help. I am asking you to lock arms with us. We need to speak the same language. Psalms 133 says this. Psalms 133, I'm just going to read 1 and 3. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. For there the Lord bestows his blessings, even life forevermore. For there, where? In unity. Don't let history repeat itself. You, especially when you have the power to stop the patterns. I would say over 90% of the protesters alone, with myself included, don't think violence and looting is the answer. Some of these professional rioters were dressed like Al-Qaeda. These are not the typical hurting people that are in these cities. However, the typical hurting people will be blamed for the poor behavior done by these terroristic rioters. Most of the typical hurting people are being incited and even enticed by these instigators. I am not going to speak about all, but most typical hurting people aren't that, or they're not professional rioters. Amen. However, it is the response of a people who have not been respected or who has received a response or not received a response from having simple conversations. What am I saying? We have had these conversations. We've had town hall meetings that have went on for years, only to receive no to minimal action. You cannot keep not responding to peaceful protests and positive neighborhood council meetings, so on and so forth, and then not have major changes take place. If you continue to not respond to peaceful protests, and then you respond to negative riots, then you are only feeding the beast. You are rewarding negative behavior. If you act now in which you should, and I think that you should act right now. There's no question. There has to be an act right now. But if you act now in which you should, you are only positively reinforcing negative behavior. You should have already responded. If police reprimands aren't working, we need to fire them. We need to have policies changed within metro government and across the country that ensure an easier process to get rid of bad employees. Multiple write-ups, complaints are evidence enough that something is off about a cop. I'll say that again. Multiple write-ups, complaints are evidence enough that something is a bit off. If sensitivity trainings aren't enough, we need to find stiffer punitive measures to hold these bad apples accountable. I have a lot of cop friends. Hear me when I say that. I have a lot of cop friends, and I believe they are amazing. I've hung out with them. I mean, these are my boys, right? I'm not going to mention names, but they are my guys. Black and white. Those cops are my guys, okay? I am not anti-cops, but pro-good authority, okay? What does that mean? When there is bad parenting, it needs to be held accountable. But that don't make me anti-parents, right? It's bad parenting. That's the reason why I'm standing up with CPS against certain things that are wrong done to kids. But I'm not anti-parents, right? I'm anti-bad cops. I believe Black people, and hear me when I say this, and I want to speak right into the camera as I speak this. This is where we're going, okay? This is something that we're going to command across the country, and at least in this state, and I'm talking about Kentucky. I believe Black people need BPS. What is BPS? Well, before I even answer that, let me say this. America has an abused group that is federally funded for children, and it's called CPS. We have another group that is increasingly abused, and that's our elderly population. So America has created what we call APS. Now we have another group that constantly and consistently has been abused and have been a bit maltreated, a group of people, and they need protective services. Black people, we need BPS. That's Black Protective Services. We need, please share this. We need an agency watching and closely monitoring the actions and behaviors from cops and others who have a tendency to systemically oppress or discriminate. What did I call it? I called it BPS. BPS will be the acronym of a governmental agency funded by the United States responsible for providing Blacks protection, which includes, but is not limited to, responding to reports across the country of Black abuse, discrimination, unjust treatment, or inequitable oppressions. Let's call it BPS. Please share this. Let's call it BPS. We need it. Like a union who monitors across the agency, BPS will monitor across the country all the issues in holding agencies and people and policies accountable to maintaining the records and the continuity of care. I am commanding America to make this a federally funded program, and the individuals who are running it need to be paid. Everybody say with me, BPS. That's what we need. We need Black Protective Services. Now, church, I want to speak to you for a moment. As I've already stated, Psalm 133, 1 and 3, it says how good and pleasant it is when God's people live in unity. For the Lord bestows a blessing, even life forevermore. Unity has to, listen to me, church. Please hear me, okay? Because there is a way for us to respond, and we have to respond. But it has to be strategic, and it has to be led by the Spirit. Unity has to go across denominational lines. It has to go across ethnic. It has to go across church. It has to go across racial lines. If you have the heart of God and the Spirit of God living in you, you are supposed to mourn with those who mourn. And right now, we are mourning. I'm talking about Blacks. I'm talking about African Americans. We're mourning. That's what you're seeing. We're mourning the death of all of the folks who have died. Let me not mention any of them because I'm sure I'll miss several names. But we're mourning. That's what you're sensing. That's what you're seeing. Even if the folks did wrong, any of their wrongdoings don't deserve death. Hear me clearly when I say that even if the folks did wrong, even their wrongdoings don't deserve death. On top of that, an officer cannot become officer, prosecutor, jurors, and the judge. So he can't take somebody's life even if they did something wrong, like use $20 bills as a fake $20 bill. You can't be judge, jury, and prosecutor, okay? The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of the criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury. That's the Sixth Amendment. That's why it's not cool to do that. Whenever in history, and I'm talking to the church again, whenever in history God wanted, and I'm talking to everybody, whenever in history God wanted to do something, he uses a human. Well, now we all are that body of Christ. We all are that. He is supposed to use. It will be no different in this time and age. He did it with all the prophets, right? You know it. We did it in Judges 3:15. He did it with Ehud. He did it with Judges in Judges 4, 3-4 with Deborah. He brought a woman judge, a prophetess. He did it with in Judges 6, 7-8. He did it with Gideon, right? And then you all know that he did it with Moses. Even if you're not a believer, you know that Moses brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, right? They were oppressed. They were crying. They cried out. God heard them being oppressed, and God raised up a people, raised up a man. And I believe in this season, God is raising up a people, right? There has been something, and I know this. There's a ton of you all out here that are listening to me and that were hearing this video. There has been something in you that has always let you know that you were put here for a reason. Something's been telling you were put here for a reason. Something's been telling you that you're here for a great cause. Perhaps this is it. This goes down in history like it did with MLK. You will be literally a part of what vindicates our society and even our country. Amos 3:7 says, surely the Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. And then he furthers and says, the Lord uses prophets to bring Israel up out of Egypt. And with the prophet, guess what? What did he do with him? He cared for them. He did that through a prophet. Amen? All right, guys, listen, it is our time to care for another group of his people that are hurting. It's our time to care for them. Now, with that said, body, we can't be disjointed and disconnected. Okay? We have to let those things go. We cannot be disjointed and disconnected based on any scripture. We have to connect for one common cause and one common reason, all under the one common God. We have to unify the lights. We are the little lights. We have to now move in unity. As in the book of Romans chapter 8 and verse 14, let me read this, chapter 9, verse 19. for the creation, the creatures, that which God has created, is waiting in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Guess what? It's our time to come out. Wake up, sleeping giant. Wake up, church. Wake up, children of God. Wake up. It's our time. The creation is waiting in bondage. It's the creation, or that which is created is groaning, and it's stressed, and it's duressed, and it's struggling. But it's not necessarily even waiting for Jesus. It's waiting for the sons of God. It's waiting for the children of God to be revealed. It's our time to step up into the place where we are supposed to be. And that's even some of my unbelievers. Listen, you are like me. I was an unbeliever until I got my mind right and I got back in line with Christ. But let me tell you, so even if you're there, you're one of them. Get there, get in place. Listen, let me tell you this. We want to know who are the children of God. It's said in 3 times in the scriptures. Galatians 3:26 says those who children of God are through faith in Jesus Christ. That's one. Then it's also said in here, it's a little key. It's in verse 14. It says, for those who are led by the Spirit of God, those are the children or the sons of God. And then in Matthew 5:9, Jesus says it like this: blessed are the peacemakers. But Jesus says it like this in red ink. He says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. So that's all of us who believe in Jesus, who are led by the Spirit. We are children of God. And he even says it like this: we will be blessed because we are peacemakers. How awesome is that? Right now, there is no justice, so there is no peace. If you can murder somebody in broad daylight in the middle of the street, that there needs to be justice. There needs to be justice. You can't chase people down the street with your gun and kill somebody. There needs to be justice. Even if they did wrong, there needs to be justice. Okay? Blessed, happy are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Right now, there is no justice. There is no peace. I know it is this. If there's no Jesus, there's no peace. I get that. We get that, believers. We know, right? But also, if you know Jesus, you will know peace. Right? So I know it is no Jesus, no peace. But if you know Jesus, you will know peace. Now, let me tell you this, guys. Even in peace, we have to endure the same suffering. We got to endure with his sufferings, though. Listen, he says, now if we are children, then we are heirs, and that's co-heirs with Christ. You know the scriptures. If we indeed share in his sufferings, and that's for those who are disenfranchised, those who are the poor in spirit, that's for them. If we indeed share in his sufferings, in order that we may also share in his glory. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing to the glory that will be revealed in us. Let me tell you something, guys, and hear me. Hear me when I say this. Please share. Please share. The government can't fix this. They can't fix it. Why? Because you can't legislate love. The government can't fix it because you can't legislate love. Rioters, they can't even fix it. Why? Because stealing things and graffiti leave a bad taste and perpetuate how they view us anyway. And hate gives birth or begets more hate. That won't do it. The only thing that will do it is the kingdom, is Jesus and the children of God. Listen, the only time something majorly happened for America and against racism and discrimination like that was by a man who was led by the Spirit, and that was with King. Okay? It can't be crazy. It can't be aggressive. You can't outfight. You can't out crazy, right? poor democracy or governmental ways. You can't outdo it that way. It's got to be done in love. King led by an example, and we're seeing some of the fruits of what he did some years ago. If we want to do the same thing in this time and age, we can do that. But it's got to be done by the children of God. It's the only way this thing can be fixed. The creatures or the creation is waiting in eager expectation for us to get into place. They're waiting for those who are led by the Spirit. That's who they're waiting for. What are the children of God going to do? Let me tell you a couple things. Hang in there, please share. Listen, what are the children of God going to do? Those who are led by the Spirit will do this. We will reveal how to change communities, cities, counties, and countries. We will stand against forces of evil uniformly and united in power. We will challenge cities and principalities, taking unified stances against darkness. Mass levels of evangelism from the waterfront to the West End and from Portland to Prospect. We will be building up communities, especially our most suffering, standing against violence and others issues unitedly. We will also stand against police brutality or any sort of brutality or any injustices with solidarity, with different colors and different races of people united with the same spirit and the same loving heart. How are the sons of God going to do this, and how will we protest? I'm going to tell you how we're going to protest. We're going to protest by wearing white instead of wearing black. We don't have to wear riot gear to protest, okay? We can show our faces instead of hiding them. We'll comply with the authority figures. But we will also do this. We will learn the laws and the principles and the rights and ordinances and statutes so that we can command officials obedience to that particular law. Then we will also challenge and change ordinances and that bring about systemic oppression. We will help them to be changed. Walking in unity instead of walking in factions. We will stand heavily on his word and the laws and constitutional rights as well that should be equal to all. We will stand against the violence and other issues united in peace in a peaceful, authoritative way that gets results because of the laws that even those who are in authority that they have to abide in. We have to learn the laws, we have to know them so that we can walk on them and in them in any situation, any circumstance. Short term, I'm gonna tell you what the short term goal is. We're gonna establish unity across church lines, denominational lines, ethnic and racial lines. We're gonna be an example of power-packed unity, and God will send his blessing and unity on just like he commands in Psalm 133. Long term, we're gonna see the birthing, listen to me, the birthing of what will be what we've all yearned for, and that is the revival. It's gonna be an outpouring in our city, in our state, and even our country. We will see miracles, signs, wonders. We will also be a model to the world, providing a more healthier environment for our kids, in setting platforms up for the next generation. Let me tell you 3 takeaways. BPS, hear me, share this. BPS, ever in history, God wanted to do something. He uses humans, guys. And we know that it's going to have to be the body that's going to be used. 3 things to take away is this: change ordinances, statutes, and policies that systemically cause folks to be discriminatory. We all are the body who the world is waiting on. Listen, children who are led by the Spirit of God will unite. And then the last takeaway, and I have to reiterate this, guys, is BPS. It's Black Protective Services. We have to have Black Protective Services. I want to remind you what that is. We need an agency watching and closely monitoring the actions and behaviors from cops and others who have a tendency to systemically oppress or discriminate. BPS will be the acronym of the governmental agency funded by the United States responsible for Black protection, which includes but is not limited to responding to reports across the country of Black abuse, discrimination, unjust treatment, or inequitable oppression. Let me hear you say, we need BPS. We need BPS. Hear me when I say that. And then lastly, guys, I want to say this. Silence ensures that history repeats itself. History repeats itself, especially when you ignore it or don't correct it. Don't let history repeat itself. Don't let history repeat itself. When you have the power to stop the patterns, don't take the negative responses. Guys, listen. These little boys here, these are my sons. Can you see them? These are my guys, right? And let me tell you, we have to do something for them. Not just for us, we have to do it for them. Why? Because they need it. Like if we don't, wait guys, look at Luke and Levi. Let me tell you, if we don't, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And I need you. We need your help with this, okay? I know you're seeing negative responses all over the news and they're gonna promote what they're gonna promote, okay? Some of it is negative and I agree. I don't disagree. But I'll tell you this, the people are hurting, guys. That's why you're seeing the outpour. That's why you're seeing the outpour, because they're hurting. They're harassed, they're helpless, they're confused, they're troubled, they're distressed. Guys, please hop on board, not only for me, but for our next generation, for our kids. I love you all. Please share this video. I love you, and I will talk to you all later. We will see BPS. Hear me when I say that. We will command BPS to take its place for our brothers and sisters. Thank you all. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. They're going to wave bye.